Welcome to Drop Step Academy. My name is Avalon and I'm going to be your instructor. Today we're going to work on juggling a 3-ball cascade, or your basic juggle pattern. The first thing you're going to need is to get some juggling balls. You're going to need 3 objects. They can be beanbags, like these juggling balls here. They can be small sports balls. Lacrosse balls work pretty well, though they're a little bouncy. Tennis balls I don't really suggest to start out, but they can do in a pinch. Or you can make your own by using some balloons and some popcorn or rice. Once you've got your juggling balls, I want you to set them off to the side, because first we're just going to watch what I'm going to show you, and then I will tell you, go try a thing. And while you work on it, I'll walk around the room and check on how everybody's doing, and I'll be able to help out as we start to get to glitchy spots, and as soon as I'm sure that you've got the first step, we'll move on to the next one. Or that's what we would normally do. Obviously, I don't get the opportunity to be in the room with you guys today, so today what we're going to do is I'm going to give you the instructions, tell you to go ahead and go try a thing, and then I'm going to cover some of the basic things, the things that most people seem to run into when I'm doing these classes, and we'll handle those today. And anything that you're still struggling with as you continue to work with the video, you'll be able to contact us and ask directly for additional assistance. The contact info will be at the tail end of the video. So, to get started, I'm going to use these 3 juggling balls. You'll notice one of them is a slightly different shape and a different color than the other 2. I'm going to want you to follow this ball as I show you the basic pattern. So, what you'll notice is that this is making a figure 8 shape, back and forth between my hands. This continues even when I drop a ball, with 2 going back and forth across my body in a figure 8. When I drop the other, we go down to just 1 ball, and that's where we're going to start today. We're going to start with picking up 1 ball and reteaching our hands how to throw. As you can see, this is a back and forth motion using an underhand toss, going in that figure 8. One of the ways you can think about this is by making 2 lines on the side of your body, which create 3 spaces. So you have a space off to this one side, off to the other, or this space here in the center. What we're going to do is catch on the outside of this center space, cross along the inside, across our body, toss there to the outside, through the inside to the outside, inside, outside, inside, outside. Back and forth we go. Now that's the basics of this toss, and I'm going to practice that, making sure that we get that on both hands. And now I'm going to go into some of the things that people tend to stumble over here. 1, the tendency to do this. It's actually quite a lovely move. It's a pretty arc across the top. But what we'd find is actually in a juggling pattern that goes over the top of our pattern instead of on the inside of it. One of the cool things about juggling is that anything that you choose to do intentionally and do as part of your juggling routine can be a trick, which means almost any mistake you make, if you go back later and learn how to incorporate it on purpose, is a trick. That type of toss, when with 2 other balls, looks like this. So I'm not going to say never do that. What I am going to say is don't do it right now. That is a overhand toss from the outside to the outside. What we're working on today is an underhand toss across the middle, catch on the outside, across the middle, catch on the outside. Another thing people stumble with is the ball tending to go away from them, so that they have to follow it in order to catch up. Normally that means you're engaging your shoulders. So what we want to do is make sure we take a deep breath, hold our shoulders down and back, stand up really straight, and keep our shoulders back while we're tossing this back and forth. That'll keep it from running away from us. One other bad habit is mimicking what juggling looks like in almost any animated representation or any book representation you'll ever see of it, where it looks like a big circle where the objects are moving around. Once again, this can be a trick, but it's a really hard one. I promise you, this, even though it seems a little more complicated, is much easier to actually do when it gets up to 3 balls. So, after you've practiced that, we've got an idea of getting the height right, going back and forth, keeping that nice and even, we can move on to 2 balls. 1, 2. Now the interesting thing here is it's actually just the exact same toss we were just doing, but we do one and then the other. We can't throw them both at the same time, because if we did, with the way that that crosses, they would hit right here in the middle. So instead, what we're going to do is up, up, down, down. And then we're going to do the same thing, but starting with the other hand. So we started with this hand last time. This time we'll start with this hand. Up, up, down, down. And that's going to go back and forth. And you practice that until you are so tired you're almost literally crying. And then you move on to 3. Now the trouble spots. One of the things that we see here is, once again, that trying to get this circular motion. In all likelihood, you've practiced that yourself at some point when you decided to teach yourself how to juggle. It was a good idea, just isn't the one that gets you to that lovely pattern. So, what we're going to do is every time you catch yourself going like this, we're going to stop, reset, and start over again. Don't just try to blend it back into that other pattern, because what we're trying to do is teach your muscle memory how we want to juggle, and that we want to keep doing those tosses that go back and forth in this figure 8, and we want to do them in that rhythm, up, up, down, down. If you're having a problem with the rhythm, a really good practice tool for me is 1, saying up, up, down, down, so you can hear it, and 2, going ahead and dropping the balls. Don't even try to catch them. Just go up, up. You'll hear them land. One of my balls is a little bouncier than the other. You probably heard it land a couple times. But if you hear those landing 2 separate times instead of landing at the same time, you're probably getting it right. So, up, up, down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up, down, down. One of the other things you're going to run into here is you're going to throw them up, up, but somehow they've landed in your hands at almost the exact same time. At this point, I've trained my muscles to not ever, ever, ever do that. So I actually can't show you what's going wrong there, but I can explain it. One of the things the brain really, really, really likes to do is have things be the same on both sides. It doesn't like the idea that it's going back and forth. It wants them to be the same. So what it does, without consulting you first, is it throws the first one to the height that you want it to throw, and then it throws the second one much lower. So it goes up, up, but not as high, and then they land at the same time, because it's wanting to feel like they've landed at the same time. If this is something you're struggling with, then my suggestion is to start focusing on getting those heights the same. Because what you'll notice is that it's like you've made a little M. And if you can get those heights the same, then they'll land at the right times. It's also a good focus for you, because since you're looking at how they're the same on both sides, your brain relaxes about trying to get them to land at the same time. And just like with one ball, if it's throwing way ahead of you and you're having to follow it to go catch it, stop, take a deep breath, make sure your shoulders are back, and try doing it like that. Just keep working at it. Getting the aim for these things is hard. It takes time. That's okay. It will get better the more you practice. Now, after you practice that for ages and you're so tired of it, we can move on to juggling 3. One of the things I like to point out is this is a big step. It makes a big difference. So if you start doing this and you think, oh goodness, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be and I don't know what's going on, you can always go back to just working on 2 or working on 1 if you realize that something's just not working quite the way you expected it to. Go back and review again. I do it all the time. Every time I start juggling with a new tool, I juggle with clubs, I juggle with knives, which I don't suggest doing to start. They're sharp and dangerous. But every time I do, I start over with just 1, so I get the feeling of how that tosses. And then I go to 2, and then I go to 3, and if 3 doesn't work well, I go back to 2, and make sure I'm doing it right. So, what we've been talking about with the 2 has been that rhythm, up, up, down, down, up, up, down, down. That's a great way to think about it, but there's another way you can think about the way that we've been tossing these, which is we've thrown 1 up into the air, and now it's going to go to this hand, but this hand is full. Ah! What do I do? Oh, I toss it. We've taught our body how we want to throw these. We've taught our bodies approximately where we want to throw them to. So, we throw. We throw that up in the air, now it's up in the air, and this other one lands in my hand. If we're just doing that up, up, down, down, then the second one lands in my hand. When we do 3, we start with 2 in one hand and 1 in the other. Got to make sure that you throw your first one from the hand that has 2 in it. Because if I try to throw this one, that's a lot to fit in my hand at once, even if I tried to catch it. And I have no idea where to throw the other 2 to. Eesh. So, we throw from this hand, which can be either hand. One of the things you'll notice is this is the same on both sides. And I strongly suggest practicing the same thing on both sides. Every time you learn a new trick, both sides. You don't want the day where somebody's watching what you're doing and they're very impressed and they say, can you do it on the other side? And you have to say, no. No, I can't. I didn't think about that. So practice everything on both sides. So you're going to be tossing the one that's here at the bottom because you've got a little bit of wrist motion that you can actually toss that with. Throw 1 up in the air. We've seen this situation before. It's flying through the air. There's a ball in this hand. I have to get rid of it. So I throw that same underhand throw across my body that we've been throwing. This one goes up in the air. This one lands in my hand. But now we've run into a new problem, which is that there's still another ball in my other hand. Yikes! This is why we did it on both sides earlier. We throw this one. Same way, same underhand throw under this one. Then this is in the air, and this one lands. Theory, it is as simple as continuing to toss those back and forth and back and forth and back. Simple is not the same as easy. Your brain's going to freak out because you're asking it to do things you've never asked it to do. You are actually growing new parts of your brain while you learn this. They've done studies. So, you will throw 1, 2, and most likely, you'll catch that second one. Because we've just practiced it a lot. You've gotten really good at throwing one, throwing the second one, and then catching them both. So, I want you to take a look at what's over here. I want you to make sure there's nothing fragile over here. I want you to make sure that you don't have any siblings, or parents, or pets over here. Because what I want you to do is I want you to throw that third ball, and I don't care where it goes. That is up, up, up. I care that the third ball gets out of your hand. I don't care where it goes. Because what we haven't told your brain is that it's supposed to throw that thing. It knows how to. You've taught it how to by this point. You know that your throw looks like this, so probably the second time you do it, once you've gotten that out of your hand, the next time you're going to do something more like that. I still didn't catch it. I still threw it too far away from myself. But it was closer. And it'll get closer and closer as you get more comfortable with it. And eventually you'll hit a point where you go up, 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 catch. And unfortunately at that point you have to go and look at everything on this side of you. And make sure there's nothing that's breakable over there. There are no siblings over there. There are no parental units over there. There are no pets over there, because we don't want to hit them with a ball. When I say do the exact same thing again, get that fourth ball out of your hand, I don't care where. Eventually, this will look like this. And according to the IJA standards, the International Juggling Association, they had to come up with a rule for what it meant to be able to juggle a certain number of items, because people were trying to juggle lots of items. So they decided that it counts as juggling if you've caught an item, if you've caught twice as many catches as you have items. So that every single item in your juggling pattern has gone through the entire pattern twice. What that means is if you're trying to juggle 3 balls, you need to make 6 catches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And at the point that you do that, according to the International Juggling Association, you are a 6-ball juggler. Now, problems you're going to run into are, like I mentioned before, getting the ball out of your hand at all. I mentioned that one before I even showed you what it really looked like again, because that one everyone has to deal with. Eventually that does wear off. After 4, 5, 6, easy to keep going. Unfortunately, at that point, you will really run into the problem of you decided to stop breathing. You may have run into this problem earlier. Sorry, I only addressed it this far late. But while it sounds silly, whenever we start something new, we take in a deep breath, and then we forget to let it out until we're done with that thing, or until we feel safe, or like we understand it. And if you don't breathe out and breathe back in again, it becomes a lot harder to actually understand things, or learn them, or, continue standing upright. I don't want all of you guys falling down. Please breathe. Other things you're going to have. The continued problem of things trying to escape you. Once you're dealing with 3 balls and things trying to escape you, it gets a little bit harder. A couple of things that I've heard suggested as additional steps are juggling right in front of your couch, so you can't take steps forward. I've heard juggling facing a wall, so that your balls can't go farther away. The big one for me is just say, I refuse to move my feet. I will keep doing this until I don't have to move my feet. I'll let my juggling pattern fail before I'll move my feet. Because if you're willing to keep walking, your muscles don't understand that you didn't do the thing. They think they got it right, so they'll keep doing that pattern. If it stops each time they throw too far away, they'll learn that that's not what we were going for, and you'll be able to focus a little closer to staying here right in front of you. Other things that are going to become problematic is throwing too high and focusing up here. Ugh! That's a mess. I can only keep that going that long because I've practiced a lot. So make sure that what you're doing is watching your juggling pattern here at a low height and not throwing too high up above you. I should be able to look directly at you while I'm juggling. You should be able to juggle while watching TV. You don't actually have to follow the juggling balls with your eyes. You know where you threw it to. You're the one who threw it. Let me think. So I thought about it. I don't think there's anything else to tell you. Make sure if you've been doing this whole video, you've been working at it for a while, you probably want to go get a drink of water and maybe a snack. Other than that, keep trying. 15 minutes a day, every day, gets you farther than like 4 hours once. That's what I got for you. If you'd like more, let me know, get in contact. Bye.